Hi everyone, it's Mark here. Thanks again for your participation this week. I'm sure it was really exciting. There's some terrific opportunities, especially for those that may be considered for paid internships coming up. And then I think the most terrific opportunity is that there's actually a group of over 100 investors, Bay Street investors that are lined up looking to help incubate and grow some of the best ideas. So there's really a lot at stake here, and hopefully it was also a lot of fun for you. But question would be like, what the heck are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to submit this? So let's go think of not a virtual hackathon, but a real hackathon. And what happens in a real hackathon is a lot like a science fair. What's going to happen is that there will be judges that will come around. They'll go around from station to station, and there's typically a bell that rings. And the bell rings, and you have 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or something like that, and you and your team have to present what the solution is in that time frame, and then the bell rings and you're done. And there's some questions there's some Q&A sessions that will be after. We'll organize Q&A sessions for you as well, but what we're trying to do here is recreate that 4-minute presentation by your team to the judges. Okay, so we're going to do that in a virtual format. So what you have to do? Well, what you have to do is you have to create a 4-minute MP4 video. And what you really should be doing is simulating what you would be presenting if it were the judges at a live show. So you might say, well, we're social distancing, etc. So, you're going to have some challenges in terms of how do I produce this video and put the various different components together, etc. So that's something for you to decide, and everybody may do it in a different way. So do I need to submit more than just the video? Well, the video is the one sort of minimum submission that everybody has to do. Now, if you have some of you are deep into coding, you've written code, etc., and others maybe not so much, that's fine. So if you have more submissions, that's fine. But the one thing that is going to be the common denominator for everyone is the video, which is going to be MP4. All right, so what is this? Now the rest here, you can do whatever you like, right? This is not a graded assignment for school or anything like this, so you can do what you like, and presumably you want to win or you want to get their attention. But some of the things that you should have in there, because these are things that judges will look at, is to put the following in place. So I have 6 things here that I'd like you to consider when you build this video that lasts 4 minutes. The 6 are listed. So first, an introduction. Second, a problem statement. Third, solution vision. 4, you want to do some kind of a demo. 5, you want to state how your system is actually feasible from a business perspective, and then to summarize what you're doing. What's the introduction? Well, it's really important, and you really need to start with this because everybody's going to want to know who you are and what your role is on the team. So don't miss the opportunity to do this. Now you want to do this without spending too much time on it, right? So we don't need to go into your life story or anything like that. So the best way probably to frame up this introduction part is to put things in a visual so that you don't need to say them. I think that a good visual, so a good introduction slide, will have like your team name, which should be a cool name, a logo that your team might have, the names, right? Because if you're just talking about your name, it might be hard for somebody to sort of imagine what the spelling of your name is. So you don't have to talk about this. You just have one slide, and it has the logo, it has what your project name is, and it has all the members in the team. Then you should go around the team, and everybody should clearly state their name. So I would go over, so if your team has 4 people, everybody in the team says, hi, my name is Mark. Explain the role you had on the team, because the judges are going to be interested in what's the composition of the team. And team, it's typically not that you have 4 people doing the same thing. So explain what your role was on the team, whether you were the back end analyst, project manager, user experience person, business analyst, whatever your role was, coder, explain that role. And then also, very brief way, State what your passion is. So everybody always, it's really, you're doing this presumably because you have a deep passion for one of the projects, or for something deep inside. So tell us a little about yourself, a passion that you have. So you have to rotate this. If there's 4 people on your team, everybody has to do it. Okay, so 4 people, 10 seconds each, 15 seconds each. So it takes a little bit of time. Next is we want to see what the problem is, right? Because COVID has caused so many problems. Now, just saying that COVID is the problem, that's probably not deep enough. You have to dig a little deeper into the problem. And what we want to understand is, okay, so what is the problem that you're going to, what is the specific problem that you're going to tackle? And the way you kind of decompose the problem is to say, all right, here's the problem. And you describe it. It's not just simply COVID. It's got to be something more detailed that happened because of COVID. And now you're going to have to tell me who it affects. And this is something, you know, when you're doing this week, you want to understand better what is the business that is involved, who in the business is affected by this, what functional organization do they belong into, what is the impact for them, etc. So what you're doing here is you're analyzing who the stakeholders are, and you're gonna tell me here with the statement that you have a problem and that you've identified exactly what stakeholder you have that is affected by this problem. Then you want to explain to me what the impact of the problem is, right? So what is the impact of the problem that you know, I have to do social distancing in a restaurant? What is the impact of the problem that I have to do social distancing, yet I still need paperwork for receipts? What is the what is the impact of the problem to the stakeholder? And now that we understand what the problem is, who this problem affects, what the actual impact is, now you can start to position to me what it is that your solution does. All right, so you're going to describe at a high level your solution. So we need to paint a better picture now of this vision for what your solution is going to do. And you can do this in any form that you like. But here's something that, you know, when you really sort of pull together all the components of your system, this is a very, very good breakdown for how to describe whatever your solution is going to do. And again, you say for, and you point out the specific customer, the specific user of the system that you have in mind, who. On here, you're going to describe the need or the opportunity that exists there. And what I want you to do here, what you should do here, is that this project that you're working on should have a name. You know, Project Tiger, whatever the name of your project is, give it a name and give it a product category so that people that are looking at this can better understand, you know, where exactly this thing fits in terms of, well, if it's a software product, etc. So come up with a category. If you have some problem with this, like understanding just how to exactly categorize what your solution is, you know, make sure that you see one of the mentors or myself or one of the liaisons that you have. After that, you start talking about what the key benefit is, or what is a compelling reason why somebody would want to have this solution that you have in mind. You want to take a knock at the competitors that may or may not be there. So one of the competitors might be that simply doing nothing, or another competitor might be a lot of you are doing solutions that are related to like restaurants and food delivery, etc. So you might understand there that the competitors might be taking a lot of money away from the restaurateur, etc. So you want to describe what your competitive what the competitors do, and then at the very end here you start to talk about your differentiation. So what is it that you do that's different, where your innovation is starting to show? This should tee you up now for a demonstration. So in the demonstration, now relating back to the solution vision that you have, you won't have time to do all the features and all the use cases and all the user stories. So typically I advise you to pick one or two. Pick one or two user stories, one or two use cases. And a user story, you should probably Google this. Many of you that are doing systems analysis, you know what use cases are, you know what user stories are. If you're still quite junior, Google it a little bit, but a user story is something really commonly used. And what you have here is you have a specific story that says, as a, and you describe the role that somebody has as they're working with your system. I want to, and you outline what the goal is that they have, so that I can, and then you explain what the benefit, what the reason is that you have this particular goal. So maybe, as a, maybe it's something to do with, well, you want to, make a reservation at the restaurant so that I can go there and find a table. So you have a user story, and then what you want to do is you want to do a demonstration of how your solution is going to solve this problem or help this particular user achieve the goal. You can do this by demonstrating code. You can do this with a prototype. You can do this with a mock-up. You can do it with a storyboard. You can do it by acting out a script. It really doesn't matter, but some kind of demonstration here of how your solution is going to work. After the demonstration, one of the criteria typically that the judges have is this thing feasible? They might say, some of you are business students and some of you are not. So they might say, does this thing have a business case? But the more generic way of looking at it is to say, look, is this thing feasible? Is this actually something that can be done? And the four sort of components of feasibility would include A, is it economically feasible? So if this thing is going to cost some money, is there going to be a return for the money that we have to invest? Technical feasibility means, is it technically possible to do what you're describing that you can do or that we should do? This is, in the last couple of years, this has really changed with some of the new technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning. So some of the things that are technically possible, quite feasible, really mind-boggling. Schedule feasibility is also something important because judges are going to look here at whatever the solution is that you might have in mind, they will want to get it to market quickly. So saying that, yeah, if all goes well, we'll have a solution in 10 years, that might not do the trick here. You might really need to focus on things that are you're going to be able to rapidly scale. And an operational feasibility is something that students often have trouble with. And it means that, your job is not over just because you develop some code. The code, it's sort of like saying your job as a parent isn't over when the baby is born. Like there's a lot more work to be done after that. So operational feasibility says, have you thought of how this thing is going to work and operate, not just how you're going to design and develop something. So again, that doesn't need to take a lot of time, and your last little bit should be a summary. You can do this any way you want, sort of, re-emphasize some of the highlight points. But judges usually love hearing about what you learned during the hackathon. They love stuff about, here's something that I learned that I didn't really, couldn't really imagine before. They love hearing about difficulties and problems. I'm sure that you had many. But they love hearing stories about, this is one thing that a problem that we really had as a challenge, and here's how we overcame it. Talk about any achievements that you might, be particularly proud of and what the next steps are. Be friendly, courteous, etc. But now your 4 minutes are over, and this is going to be submitted. The judges will be watching these videos, and then we're going to set up some Q&A sessions for you, so the judges can ask you questions. Another thing to remember about these judges is they're not really mysterious people. The judges will be interested in you before you have to submit these things, so they're available to talk to you, to mentor with you. Get to know the judges beforehand. It's going to probably be in your favor if you do that. Okay, but at the end of the day, it's this 4-minute video that is needs to convey this information, and then the judges will go from there, ask you more questions. If you have code or something that you want to show them, great, but they're going to be basing their ranking on this. All right, so I hope this helps, and I am going to make myself available so I can meet with your team live if you want, and you can show me what you got, and I can critique it, throw some rocks at it, or give you praise or whatever, encouragement. Very curious to see what you have, and we're expecting great things. Okay, so thanks again. Hope you had a great Canada Day. Enjoy, and we're there to help you. We really want you to shine. Thanks.